Have you ever found yourself making a decision or feeling a certain way and later wondered exactly why? It's a common experience. Perhaps you picked a product off a shelf without much thought, or felt an instant connection with someone you just met, or even found yourself agreeing with the group consensus, even if you had lingering doubts. What if I told you that in many of these moments, you were likely being influenced by forces operating entirely beneath your conscious radar? Welcome to Practical Psychology, where today we're diving into a fascinating and incredibly relevant topic: spotting influence without awareness. This isn't about grand conspiracy theories or mind control. It's about understanding the subtle, everyday psychological mechanisms that profoundly shape our behavior, our decisions, and even how we perceive the world, often without us ever realizing it. Our goal is to demystify these hidden processes, giving you the tools to better understand yourself and the world around you. Our journey into unconscious influence begins with a foundational concept: the unconscious mind. Think of your mind like an iceberg. The tip above the water is your conscious awareness, what you're thinking about, feeling, and perceiving right now. But beneath the surface lies a vast hidden mass, the unconscious. This is a repository of thoughts, memories, feelings, and impulses that profoundly impact your behavior, even though you're not actively aware of them. Sigmund Freud famously posited its influence, and while modern cognitive psychology might use different terms like automatic or implicit functions, the understanding that much of our mental processing happens outside of conscious detection is now widely accepted. So how does this unconscious world actually influence us? Let's explore some key concepts. First, there's unconscious or implicit bias. This is one you've likely heard about. Implicit biases are automatic, often unsupported, judgments, attitudes, or stereotypes that are rooted in our past experiences and cultural learning. They operate quickly and without our conscious recognition. Imagine you're on a hiring committee. An affinity bias might make you instinctively favor a candidate who reminds you of yourself, or a halo bias might lead you to overlook flaws in someone who has one impressive credential. A confirmation bias could lead you to selectively notice information that confirms an initial gut feeling about someone, while a conformity bias might make you go along with the group's opinion, even if you privately disagree. These biases can subtly sway everything from who we hire, to how we evaluate performance, to the simple judgments we make every day. Then we have cognitive biases. These are like mental shortcuts our brains take to process information more quickly. While often helpful, they can also lead to systematic errors in thinking, influencing our judgments and decisions without us even knowing it. For example, the anchoring effect might make you over-rely on the first piece of information you hear when negotiating, or framing bias can change your perception of a choice based on how it's presented. These shortcuts shape our perception of reality, often leading to decisions that aren't entirely rational. Another powerful, often unseen force is social influence without awareness. We are social creatures, and our behavior constantly adapts to our social environments. This can manifest as conformity, where we subtly align our actions with group norms, or as socialization, where we absorb cultural expectations without explicit instruction. Think about how you might adjust your speaking volume or even your posture when entering a new social setting. Much of this intuitive alignment happens without a conscious decision. And what about subliminal perception and persuasion? This is perhaps the most sensationalized aspect of unconscious influence. While the idea of being compelled to buy something by a hidden message in a movie might seem like science fiction, and indeed, early claims were often debunked, research does suggest that stimuli presented below conscious awareness can subtly modify actions, especially if they align with existing needs or desires. It has luxury power to force novel behaviors, but it can nudge us in directions we're already predisposed to go. Think of it less as mind control and more as a whisper that can reinforce an existing thought. These concepts aren't just academic theories, they have profound real-world applications. Businesses, for example, leverage these insights constantly. Fields like neuromarketing use brain science techniques like eye tracking or MRI scans to understand subconscious consumer motivations. Companies like Google, Apple, and Amazon apply these findings in product design, advertising, and user experience to appeal to our subconscious minds. Think of the subtle cues in an advertisement or the intuitive layout of a website. These are often crafted to resonate with our unconscious preferences. The idea of nudges, popularized by economists Richard Thaler and Cass Sunstein, further illustrates how small, subtle interventions can guide choices through unconscious psychological processes. Arranging healthier food options more prominently in a cafeteria, for instance, isn't about restricting choice, but about subtly encouraging a healthier one, relying on our natural tendency to pick what's easiest to see. Now, it's important to acknowledge that this field isn't without its complexities and controversies. The actual efficacy of strong subliminal messaging, for instance, remains a point of debate, with strong evidence for compelling individuals against their will still lacking. We also wrestle with the very nature and existence of the unconscious, with modern cognitive psychology preferring concrete, measurable, implicit functions over some of Freud's more theoretical constructs. Perhaps the most significant ethical debate centers around manipulation versus persuasion. When does guiding a choice become coercion? In marketing and politics, the use of unconscious influence raises critical questions about consent, fairness, and the potential for unfair advantage. Tools designed to measure unconscious bias, like the implicit association test, are also under scrutiny regarding their reliability and how well they predict actual behavior. And then there's the big philosophical question: how much conscious control do we truly have? If so much of our decision-making is influenced by unconscious processes, what does that say about our free will? This isn't to say we're merely puppets of our unconscious, but it does highlight the importance of understanding the pervasive nature of these hidden influences. So, what can we take away from all of this? The ability to spot influence without awareness isn't about becoming hyper-vigilant and paranoid about every decision. Instead, it's about cultivating a more mindful and reflective approach to your thoughts, feelings, and choices. The study of unconscious influence is an evolving field, with ongoing research continuing to refine our understanding of human agency versus these automatic processes. But by recognizing that our minds are often working behind the scenes, we gain a powerful tool for self-awareness and intentional living. It's about understanding the subtle currents beneath the surface, so we can navigate our lives with greater clarity and conscious intent. Thank you for joining me on this fascinating world of the unconscious mind.